I never thought I'd see this in my lifetime. Humans going back to the moon. And this is not a movie. This is not a video game. This is real people leaving Earth, flying around the moon, and coming back. And then when you watch the splashdown, when I watched that, I kept thinking, why did it take us 50 years to do this again? Welcome back to Sigma Duocast. I am genuinely excited for this episode. I actually wanted to do it a lot sooner. Time got away from me and things. And plus, I just kind of wanted to see what things happen. But this episode's all going to be about the Artemis mission. I mean, I'm just blown away. I'm gonna come into this whole topic as obviously a spectator, because I'm not an astronaut. But I'm just, I don't know. Like, if you don't know what's been going on, what the Artemis mission is, what NASA's doing, and just what, as a civilization, what we're trying to accomplish in the coming years. I'm here to kind of share with you a little bit of it. I mean, I'm not going to give you all the facts because I'm not an expert. But I've done a little bit of research, and I've kept tabs on the Artemis II mission that's recently happened. And again, I'm just coming into it as just how blown away I am with this. I mean, never in my life did I think I would see this happen. So, for those that don't know or do know, like, there's a lot of things that happen in our past. And I'm talking about, like, before, like, from the day you're born, everything before that to you is unknown, right? It's just history. We don't know anything about it. And the thing about history, I feel at times can be very, I don't want to say subjective, but it's very, like, could be very inaccurate, we'll say, because unless you've personally experienced, seen it, viewed it, just you were there, then okay, the past history is accurate to you. I mean, I'll give you a quick example of, like, 9/11. I lived through 9/11, like, vividly can remember everything, what I was doing, when it was happening, all that stuff, and it was something. But then you fast forward 20 plus years, and the generations today, the young adults, teenagers, they don't have a clue to what it is. They don't understand. They don't know what they saw. They can read it in textbooks. They can read it. They can see video and everything. I mean, now you got people just debunking as much stuff as they can possibly debunk, because that's, like, the thing to do. Everything in the world is fake. We all live in the Truman Show. It's all pretend. It's all CG, AI. Like, this is the world climate right now with a lot of people. It's that whatever happened in the past is not real to some people, which is crazy to me to begin with. I don't think the past isn't real. What I think is the past could be inaccurate. And again, this is a whole nother separate subject whole nother episode that I can dive into. And I would love to with a couple insightful people. So if you're listening and you have certain opinions about what I'm talking about in this particular segment, reach out to me, man. Let's get to it. I would love the conversation, but you read history, you don't know what that's really about. I'm not going to dive too much into religion. I have my own personal beliefs, but, like, one of the biggest things for me is, like, the Bible, right? Like, if you read the Bible, how do you know it's so accurate? Because it's very old. English was not the original language. It's been translated. So, like, how do we know that the original art, the original context, the original script was intact and carried over? Because if we play, like, the game telephone, or you just have a conversation, someone's telling you a story of something that they saw and happened. I mean, they'll either make the story very dull and not enough detail. They'll make the story over exaggerated and express detail. They'll make it a whole, like, story of a cinematic feel, like, or they might live out things because there might be certain perspectives that they saw they didn't like because they had a certain opinion about something. So again, history, we don't really know. And so when we look at history, when it comes to space travel as, Americans, but also just as a human race on planet Earth, like we had the Apollo missions. And, a lot of people think that was all fake. It was all Hollywood and stuff. My personal thought, I want to say it's real. I want to say we did that. I'm about 95% sure it's legit. I don't know as far as presentation goes. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the presentation, some of the historical footage we've been shown is as accurate, could have been semi-staged, maybe, I don't know. But the concept idea that we've had humans in space, they've gone to the moon, landed on the moon. Yeah, I can believe that. I can confidently say that I personally believe that's real. I'm not going to sit here and go into conspiracies or do anything or, whatever. It's like flat Earth people. We know it's not a flat Earth. We know it's a circle. It's a planet. It's a sphere. Come on now. But anyways, so again, I didn't live through the Apollo time. Wasn't even alive. Wasn't even a thought. Were my parents? I think my parents were alive, but we just, I don't know. And so it always baffled me why ever since the last Apollo mission, which I want to say is Apollo 11. I hope I'm right about that. I'm going to have to kind of Google that. But ever since the last one, it's like, why haven't we gone? What's prevented? Whoa, I was way off. Apollo 17 was actually the last one. December 7th, 1972 is when that one launched in the Apollo program. So, okay. I think Apollo 11 was like the pretty dark thing. Okay. Anyways, why haven't we gone? I mean, I just said right there, 1972. I mean, it's 2026. What's going on? And so I'll talk a little bit as far later in the episode of a segment. I kind of answer that question a little bit. Based off research and honestly, to be very transparent, I was watching Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he kind of had an episode. I don't know which one it was, but I watched it recently, and he had kind of explained it a little bit there, and so that made sense. But I always wondered why not. So now that's pretty much like history. So we don't know the Apollo program, what happened. Real, not. I believe it's real. I think we did land. I think we had a couple missions. Did they have purpose in terms of like benefits? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe that's why they stopped in that aspect. But here we are today, and NASA's doing the Artemis program. And with Artemis, this is the second mission. And so the objective of Artemis is, we're going back, but eventually we want to stay. The end game, the first end game goal is to create a base on the moon, the South Pole area. And that's, just have people living on the moon. Eventually, the ultimate end game is eventually to get to Mars. That's going to be the big thing. But for now, we're just doing the Artemis. The Artemis 1 launched, I want to say 2 years ago, and 2 or 3 years ago. And honestly, didn't really know what was going on. I wasn't paying attention then, because that one just basically flew, I don't know, like 1.7 million miles around the Earth. They were just testing things, testing the splashdown, which got burnt up in orbit and things of that nature. So it was a lot of just testing. It was unmanned. There wasn't people involved in that. So that's essentially what that one transpired to. And it was ultimately just it was mainly so it can test the Orion systems and the heat shield. So I'll kind of break that down a little bit. So what NASA's using is the SLS, the Space Launch System. That's the full name. It's NASA's most powerful rocket ever built. And that one produces about 8.8 million pounds of thrust at launch, which is amazing. So if you look at the cover page of this episode, what you're looking at, the launch, that's essentially the SLS. So it's designed to go into deep space missions beyond Earth's orbit, which is like the big thing that we're trying to do: go to the moon, go to the Mars, go elsewhere. And so with that, it does have the Orion spacecraft. So that Orion spacecraft, they call it the Orion MPCV, which stands for the Orion Multi-Purpose Crew Vehicle. And so that's designed to carry astronauts into deep space. It has life support for multi-week missions. Like, that's the whole thing. And then you have the Integrity capsule that the NASA 4-man crew that went into Artemis II were a part of. The partnerships beyond this is NASA, obviously here in the U.S. We also had the ESA, the European Space Agency, the CSA, Canadian Space Agency, the JAXA, Japan Aerospace Exploration Agencies, and then we also had private company support with SpaceX, and they were mainly helping with the human landing system, and then Blue Origin, which is the future lander that they're going to be doing and having. So this is really not just about NASA per se, like exclusively to them. It's global. It's even commercial if you really think about Blue Origin, SpaceX. So there's a lot going into this. And so we had that was the first Artemis 1 was to test that out, just to fly around, check everything, see how things go, get the data, and then make adjustments for Artemis 2. Because Artemis 2, which just happened on April 1st, that mission was designed for 4 astronauts to wrap around the Earth, propel out to the moon, and go around the moon, which, fun fact, that is the furthest any human being has been in the depths of space. Like, that's how far they've gone when they went to the backside of the moon. So they got to see, the light side, the dark side, because I don't believe the moon really revolves. It's just there. Like Earth revolves, it rotates. That's why we have the cycle of day and night. I don't believe the moon does. I think that the moon rotates around the Earth, but I don't think the moon itself, it doesn't have any like gravitational spin within. I hope I'm right about that. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's why it's a big deal that when we went around and we saw some of these, the backside and some of these craters and some of the geography of the moon, it was like, holy smokes. It was like kind of like the first time laying eyes on it. And I'll tell you, the Artemis took so many great photos. I mean, there's probably so much more that they haven't shared with us, but with the onboarding of cameras and video, and then the crew, astronauts themselves inside looking out, because it has windows on the thing and they're able to look out like that. That's intense. But this was a 10-day mission. They traveled, 695 miles, and essentially they had a free return trajectory. So it's a natural return path to Earth. So like I said, they wrapped around the Earth, went around, and then came right back. It was something to see, man. It was crazy. You had 4 astronauts, which were Reed Wiseman, which was the commander. He's a NASA astronaut, former Navy pilot. You have Victor Glover. He was the pilot. He was he's obviously a NASA astronaut and former Navy pilot as well. And then he is because you know how the world is. We gotta detail certain accomplishments. I don't know. I think it's cool, but Victor is the first African American astronaut to go into a lunar space. We also had Christina. I don't know how you say her last name. Koch. She was the mission specialist. She's obviously a NASA astronaut, and obviously recorded the longest single spaceflight for a woman, or by a woman. And then you have Jeremy Hansen, who was the mission specialist as well, but he was from the Canadian Space Agency astronaut, and he is the first non-American on a lunar mission. So cool little achievements. I know that their goal is to put, in the words of NASA, person of color on the moon, obviously a woman on the moon, and I don't know, I guess diversify as much as we can. I mean, hey, I just want to hear, hey, we put a Latino out there, sounds good. That's what I'm talking about. That would that would be awesome. I'd be like, hey, we got somebody out there. I think they made a movie of something like that where they had a Latino go into space, but or maybe it just worked for NASA in general. I think, damn, I know there's a movie out there for it. I forgot what it was. I don't know if it was like fictional or if it was like an actual story or whatever. But hey, man, 4 astronauts left Earth. They flew around the moon, came back safely. And, you know, it's just the first time humans have gone as far since 1972. And so when they Artemis and watching the reentry, man, dude, that was just insane. I mean, so Artemis 1 really tested the heat shield, the erosion. There was an erosion issue, the heat shields when they were coming back in. Because I mean, when they're coming back in, I mean, to Earth, I mean, they're flying. Reentry speed was like 25,000 miles per hour. Heat during reentry reached up to 5,000 Fahrenheit. Like, it's insane. I think like comms, when that sequence was happening, which I believe lasted for just a couple minutes, but actually, no, was it a couple minutes or no? Yeah, a couple minutes. Cause I'm thinking of when they went to, so when then NASA hit when the astronauts hit the backside of the moon, there was communication loss for about 40 minutes because there was no direct contact. I don't know how the technology works with NASA and communication because they're talking, you know, they did TV interviews while they were in space and all that. But it almost made it sound like it was like a direct line of sight type of technology where it's like, all right, cool, we're here. And imagine, you know, point B's here. And so there's nothing obstructing that. And then the moment they went behind the moon to wrap around, and it took about 45 minutes to do that, I believe, there was no line of sight. So they lost communication. And so that was interesting because that could have been scary. What if someone went sideways? But the same type of fear happened when they were upon reentry, because when they went into reentry and they're hitting, you know, those speeds and they're hitting that 5,000 Fahrenheit, there was loss of comms and all like communications for, I believe, a couple minutes until it kind of cooled off and they entered the atmosphere and everything. And so Artemis 1, that test showed there was some damage. And so when they did it with Artemis 2 and obviously took all that data, they fixed and repaired and did everything they needed to do. And it was highly successful. But man, seeing that reentry, the splashdown and everything, I mean, I was watching off my phone and I was just blown away. I was like, dude, like this is happening. And it was the smoothest reentry. It was like textbook procedure, everything they did, like just the timing and all that, weather conditions, like it just, you know, thank God it was perfect because they came in, the parachutes came out perfectly, everything was well executed, like it was crazy. It did take them like a good while for them to get them out of the pod when it landed, but they had all their stuff coordinated. I mean, it kind of felt like, you know, when I don't know if you ever flown in an airplane, but if you ever have and like you're kind of sitting towards the back, like, okay, you've landed, now we're going to start to disembark, and you're just like, bro, how is it taking so long? Come on. And you're like there for a good, you know, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes just getting off the damn plane. It's kind of what it looked like because they were, you know, still doing little tests here and there and whatnot and get everything situated. And they're having a little bit of issue like with the satellite phone, I believe. And just to ensure they're not having communications because they have to secure and then to shut the pod down, power it down and everything before they can actually enter. I mean, it was a whole thing, but just seeing it, like I said in the very beginning of the episode, it's like, it's one thing to watch, you know, historical footage and pictures and, you know, history. It's another thing seeing it live, seeing it happen, like being present for it. I mean, I wasn't physically present, but like, you know, just watching it from whether it was my phone or a TV or whatever, like it was like, wow. And they were healthy. They were all healthy. All 4 astronauts were healthy. They made it back safely. You know, the adjustments they did into the pod upon a reentry from Artemis 1 to Artemis 2 improved. It was something else, man. So again, I'm more of just being a fanboy of this whole thing more than anything, because again, like if you don't care, you don't care. That's fine. But being someone that's like fascinated with space, I mean, I'm a big sci-fi guy from Star Wars to Star Trek to, you know, video games like Halo, you know, Mass Effect. And I mean, there's so many to name, but like seeing these things, and then like that's just like sci-fi, like space, like, you know, just super fantasy, so to speak. All those things that I just kind of said. I mean, Star Trek's probably the closest thing to what could be the future in, like, I don't know, the year in the 22, 23, 25 something, you know, 25XX, so to speak, because God knows where we would be in the future with all this stuff. But like, even when you watch movies like The Martian, Interstellar, you know, just sci-fi movies. I mean, shoot, you could even throw in Armageddon, as crazy as that Michael Bay movie is. But like the idea of just how, like, when you look at movies like Star Trek or Star Wars for that matter, like the idea of just like, oh, here's a ship, like almost like a plane, and you just get in and then it's able to just take off. It has the power and the protection to go out into orbit, you know, beyond deep space, and then re-entry is no big deal. Like what? I mean, we just saw a pod, real life, come in, and it was like, holy smokes, 5,000 degrees. It's going 20. And then, you know, you see these spaceships, and I guess what the spaceships in the fantasy and in the science fiction, it's like, you know, they have their throttle engines and they're coming in kind of like an airplane landing. So, I mean, I guess there's a way to counter that. I think the only time you ever see in Star Wars, like a ship coming into orbit and it's like cooking, kind of like how the splashdown is. It was Return of the Jedi. Oh, no, Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. The very beginning, that's because, you know, they lost all control of Grievous's ship, and they're coming in crashing into Coruscant in the airport, and that's like, they're like, oh, we're, you know, you have Anakin, we're coming in too hot. Like, yeah, dude, like if you're rocking 5,000 plus Fahrenheit, yeah, that's beyond way too hot, my friend. So, you know, it's just very fascinating to me, and I wonder, I know for sure in my lifetime I will not see it, but I wonder whether my kids or my grandkids or grandkids, whomever in my lineage gets to see, or even just people in general, to be honest with you, just civilization, like the ability to have a ship just take off like it's nothing, go into space, do its thing, and then come back would be freaking amazing. Let alone having some type of like warp drive or you know, hyperspace or hyperspeed or whatever, like to just travel even faster. That would be another thing in itself. But again, I'm just someone that's fascinated. And even if you remove the sci-fi fiction, like just really looking at like space, I mean, that's another frontier that we just don't know. You know, we don't know what these other planets contain. We don't know what other galaxies are out there. I mean, it would be really crappy if we are the only life in all of the galaxy. You know what? Not even other galaxies, just our galaxy, the Milky Way. If we're the only life, that is the saddest thing ever. Like, just sad. But if there is, like, for one day to reach these places and meet this other life that's out there, like, wow. That's something else. So, I mean, why did it take us 50 years to go into space? You know, we didn't stop because we couldn't. You know, we stopped because we didn't need to anymore. You know, we did it in the 70s. Why can't we do it then? I mean, the technology is so much more now. Very, very clear. You know, the Apollo 11 landed in 1969. I think that's what I was getting confused with. Is the Apollo 11 was the landing one. Apollo 17 was the last moon mission, 1972. The Apollo program cost $25 billion. I mean, if you adjust it to inflation now, that's $150 billion. I feel that's the number one reason why we probably stopped. Because it was just expensive. And initially, when you go back, like, again, this is revisionist history, or not revisionist history, but just the history. There was something going on that created a reason to go, and that was the space race, right? It was between the U.S. and the USSR. Russians wanted to get someone in space. I mean, they literally tested dogs. They would send them out into space, a dog, to see how it goes, with no intention of bringing them back, so God rest their souls. And, Nope. U.S. said, no, we're going to go first. We're going to be the first ones to do it. That's what we're going to do. And that's what initially started the first space race. That's what started the Apollos, is that another country said, hey, we're going to go to outer space to do this, XYZ, whatever, go to the moon. And we're like, nah, we're going to do that. And if you fast forward, once when we won and that's all done, the Cold War ended and all that stuff, you fast forward to now, and we kind of have another space race 2.0 happening, if you will. China and Russia are making moves. They said, hey, we want to put a base on the moon. We want to go this and this. And we're like, no, we're going to do that. We're going to put a base on the moon. That's what we're going to do first. So, and this is where, in the first term of Trump, he started this whole program, like, hey, we're going to fund it. We're going to do it. Space Force happened, all that, just becoming more strategic with it. And so that is, hey, we're going to go back to the moon. We're going to go back to space. And that's because really China was saying the same thing. We're going to go to space. So no, we're going to do that first, and then the Biden administration took over, and guess what? They continued it. They didn't shut it down. They're like, let's do it, because this is bigger than politics. I mean, it's probably the only thing these two agreed on, but it's bigger than politics. It's the future. It's we don't know what's out there and what we can do. And if we don't start trying, we'll never know. We'll never know. And we're going to be left in the dust, So that's what initially kind of really started. It was just, China and Russia planning an international lunar research station, separate from from the Artemis program. And we're like, no, let's do that. And so with the Artemis program, they created the Artemis Accords, which I thought was kind of funny because instantly, you guys know, we're Marvel fans around here. So I thought of the Sokovia Accords and Marvel Civil War, or Captain America Civil War film. But it was just so funny. I was just like, damn it. Pop culture got me. But yeah, no, they created the Artemis Accords, and 30 plus countries signed. It's focusing on peaceful exploration, transparency, resource sharing. So basically, again, I mean, this is a civilization thing. This isn't a this country, that country thing. I mean, if we're just going to take wars and division, which I know it's inevitable, but if we take that to space, like, it's just like, God damn it, dude. Like, come on. Like, let's move on. Let's make this happen. We need to do something great. And in China and Russia, they have their own thing, and they're trying to recruit other countries. So it's a thing. There's two factions going on as of right now, but we'll see how it pans out. I'm hoping as a civilization, and I get it. I mean, this is why we have war. This is why we have all this stuff. And again, this is not a political podcast in any shape or form. And I'm not going to talk about politics, but I'm hoping we can figure some stuff out. And at least when it comes to space, we can be a little more civil, a little more neutral, and figure out, because I mean, if we start having different bases, on the moon, now it's like, okay, well, who gets there first? Who can lay claim? Like, it's going to be rocky. And the reason why they want to go to the South Pole is because there's craters there that are so deep that the sun never hits. And there's comets that obviously hit and made these craters. And within those comets, they say there's ice. And if you can get ice, then there's ways to convert that to water. And if you can convert that to water, then you can convert that to fuel. You can convert that to a lot. So they can have some type of resources. The question becomes, how much of resource can there be, right? Like, what can be sustainable? And so can we take these pockets of water to produce drinking water? Can we produce oxygen, hydrogen? Like I said, hydrogen for rocket. So there's so much more there. And if that is there, then that's great. That's the future, because ideally there's for sure 3 more Artemis missions. I think they planned out like 8, maybe even 10, if I remember. But I know the next mission, Artemis III, they're going to be testing out to land like a rocket on the moon. I don't know if it's going to be on moon or if it's going to be like within our own orbit, but that's like what the next phase is to see if we can actually land on the moon. And, if that works, great. And then Artemis 4, the 4th mission, that will be the one where we put people back on the moon physically, walking and everything, which again, they give you timelines like, 2027, 2028. Like they're kind of moving fast. I mean, technically the Artemis II mission was supposed to launch like a year or 2 years after Artemis I. Again, I think it was 2022 when Artemis I happened, if I remember. And so 2024 was supposed to be Artemis II, but it got pushed obviously to 2026 this year. So hopefully that happens. But yeah, it's interesting what the future would look like, because once they do that, once they're able to establish a camp, to create the base camp where we could have surface habitants, lunar rovers, long duration. I mean, it's gonna be amazing. And again, that's just a big part one ending, because that really is not the long term. The long term is to go to Mars. And if you think about it, it's like, okay, if they can align it, time it and everything, all right, cool. You're going to shoot to the moon, stop by the moon, get resources, whatever. And then after that, boom, take off to Mars. Like that just it can potentially close that gap a little bit. I mean, it technically only took them, and the mission was 10 days to go and come back. But to get to the moon, I think it was only like 5 days, 4 or 5 days, something like that. So it's not that long. I mean, it is, but it's not. But I mean, dude, can you guys just take a moment to just fathom that? Like, have people living on the moon with resources, everything's great, right? The ability to just go on and off. And then once that's established and that's like fairly consistent and great, the next thing is to launch to Mars. And here's my biggest thing though, like me personally, what I'm most curious about is outside of just exploration, because that's fascinating. I mean, you play games like Destiny, No Man's Sky. God, I'm really upset that I can't think of the recent game that came out, the Bethesda game. Oh, Starfield. You think of Starfield, where you just having the ability to just boom, take off to space, go to different planets, see what's there. But in those games, you go to these different places, not only to obviously push the narrative or whatever, but it's for discovery of resources. And so my curiosity right now is with the moon and then Mars, because those are the two sets. I mean, God knows if we ever get to have the ability or somehow capacity to go to any other planet in our solar system, let alone beyond our solar system. But like, if we're focusing on those two, but it's like, what kind of resources can we get from the moon, from Mars? That's what my curiosity is, because obviously that's what's going to make all this stuff worthwhile, all the money and everything. Like if we're able to go to the moon and we discover like a new element or something, or some new property, some type of new material, and we're able to take this material and we're able to convert it to some type of, whether it's like a fuel or, just some type of way of how it benefits us, whether it's for travel, whether it's for medicine, whether it's for building, I don't know, like just have some type of use to it. That'd be very interesting. I don't know if that's what they've discovered then, but I mean, if we got people there living 24/7, I'm sure they'll have more time to obviously discover and test and figure things out. But then you go to Mars, and it's like, you think about that, and it's like, what can we get from Mars? Like, what is there? What we've seen in photos and the little robotic rovers that they have on Mars and things like that. And then just our imagination with films. It's like, it's a red planet. It's like a dead planet, like there's no water. There's nothing, like there's no life. And if there's no life, like, then what can really be there to benefit us outside of saying, hey, we've been here? You know what I mean? Like, that's where my curiosity and fascination and all that comes into play. I always wonder what the hell's down deep in our oceans, because I feel those are unexplored territory, especially deep ocean, and that scares the hell out of me. But also there's space. what's out there. We don't have an eye out there. We don't have anyone watching it all the time. I mean, at least with the ocean, we try to have, there's, I don't know what the proper terms are or the positions, but we got people who are in that field of discovering what kind of fish, what kind of things are happening in the ocean, not just water based, but like volcanic, seismic. Like there's just so much exploration on that. But then there's also the deep where they can't go because of the pressure. And I mean, we've even seen certain animals adapt to these pressures and darkness of the ocean and this abyss. And so it's like, what the hell is down there? What can be down there? Like, is there anything worthwhile? Is there elements deep down there that, resources that we can use? We don't know. And so that's just in our own backyard. That's just here on planet Earth. But then when you start thinking about space, and then you start thinking about planets and moons, it's like, what can be there? So I don't know. My thing right now is, listen, if you're into this stuff, hey, I think this is such an amazing time for us. If you're into space exploration and you're following, NASA's thing and the Artemis program and the Artemis missions that they're doing, like, and you're remotely curious, like, I think this is such an amazing achievement. Congratulations to the 4 astronauts that got to physically go out into outer space. Congratulations to all the people involved in the whole program and everything. What an achievement and accomplishment they all took part in. And what an amazing thing to be able to see as a human here on Earth. I mean, it's crazy. And who knows what the next, I mean, like I said, I don't know how long I'll live. Hopefully I'll live for another 50, 60 years. We'll see. But if in those 50, 60 years, if I get to at least see humans walking on the moon and we're, showcasing it, we're streaming it like how everyone streams everything now and on the social medias and everything, and we're able to stream that and it's, undisputably accurate and real. And it's no longer, it was a Hollywood studio and did it because everyone wants to prove everything's fake. Like, dude, what an achievement. And I can't wait for what my kids will be able to see in their lifetime, because who knows that in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 years, 200 years, humans are traveling space like it's every movie we've seen, like it's Star Wars, Star Trek, you name it, any space movie. Like, dude, I don't know. Right now I'm cheesing. I got a big smile on my face because I'm just thinking about everything and I'm just like, wow. So anyways, again, if you're into this stuff and you've gotten this far in the episode, thank you. I appreciate you guys. Be sure to follow our links and everything that we have. You can find that on Linktree or any of our social medias, YouTube, all that stuff. We always appreciate the listens and the support. And if you're into space, I hope you are excited as I am, because I think this is crazy. I mean, this is one of those moments where history is literally happening in real time. And I'm just very glad that I'm here to see it. And I hope you guys are too. So we'll see where this goes and where the frontier takes us, and all the brilliant minds behind this Artemis program. Hopefully, they're able to accomplish what they have set out. So, until next time, guys.